Hi folks, my name is Jackie Murray and I'm your guide for most of these curriculum companion wikis to go along with the K through 8 technology curriculum you purchase to get your students through technology in a way that supports your standards, your mission, your school curriculum, whatever that may be, core subjects, not necessarily as a standalone technology class where you teach it for like you would Spanish or PE, but technology skills you can use to bolster student educational goals. So I have been teaching preschool through grad school classes for about 35 years. I have a pretty good understanding of what goes on in the learner's brain for that period of time. Very much enjoy it. It's always fascinating, and I have to say I learn as much from students as I do from anything else. My last 15 years have been in technology, teaching in the class or mentoring and coaching teachers and administrators on integrating technology into what they're doing in their classrooms. Very much enjoy that. So this is a year-long video unpacking of the curriculum you've purchased. You might have the technology curriculum, the teacher's manual, or the student workbook. We're kind of going to cover both. So if you don't have the student workbooks, just skip over those parts when we get to them. If you have the student workbooks, then you should have the teacher manual. If you don't, for some reason, let me know. Contact me at askatechteacher@gmail.com, or you can contact Zeke at Structured Learning, and he'll take care of that for you, because that definitely comes with your student workbooks. So we're going to go through, this is the introduction to the curriculum to help you unpack it in your class before you actually get to that lesson number 1 and start teaching it. Let's see. I should note there are some limitations to what I can show you on this slideshow, because it's uploaded to YouTube, a public location. Not necessarily people will find it easily, but it is a public location. It's not a walled garden sort of thing. And the books themselves are copyrighted, so there will be some things I can't show you, but I don't think those will be very many, or will get in the way of the learning and all. If it is, you and I talk separately. We'll cover that. All right. What's the difference between the two books? The teacher's manual speaks to the teacher, includes some materials that the students don't need to know about, like pedagogy and overarching concepts. The student workbook speaks to the student, has more illustrations, guides them. It helps them to become as self-paced, self-directed as is possible. Now, obviously, kindergarten and first grade, that's more of a challenge, but then it would help the parent or the adult, whoever's guiding them through it, help them guide the student at their level through it. So that's the difference. As a teacher, you want to be familiar with both so that students can, so that when they see something in their student workbook, you're able to address it, just as you would with math or social studies, science, one of those where you have a teacher manual and the students have their textbook. So you want to be familiar with both. You will, don't be concerned if students want to circle back on earlier lessons or rush forward because they've got what you're talking about and they want to move forward to the next lesson. Some of the lessons take a couple weeks, so don't be concerned if they want to, okay, I've got this, I'm going to move forward and finish this project because I'm excited about it. No worries. That's exactly what the student workbook's intended for, that they can do that independently without affecting anything. Okay, and I just wanted you to see the difference in what you might get. Here's the teacher manual for Hour of Code and the student workbook for Hour of Code. You can see this is assessments. It's got the time required so that you know. It's got teacher preparation, which the students don't have, but both have the essential question. Here it's called that, over here it's noted in a more student-friendly way. This is a to-do list for students over here, and you don't need a to-do list. Vocabulary, problem solving, skills, the new skills they're learning, plus the ones they're scaffolding from earlier years. Part of assessment is, can they use the skills they've already known? Can they transfer that knowledge to this new learning? So you want to call those out to students, and they want to be aware of those. So when you say coding, okay, when did I do coding before? And that sparks a conversation. Steps here, class warm-ups, both of them have class warm-ups. Okay, so that's the difference between these two. This probably looks a little user-friendlier than this one, as it should. Okay, when you get your curriculum, you received PDFs and print books. If you bought that variety, there's a lot of ways you could buy them, but you might have print books also. The student workbook, your PDF, it's only PDF, and it's designed for 26 seats if you have a room license, and more if you have a school or district license. But then you have a PDF, you simply load it onto your computers in the lab setting. That room license is designed for a lab. The school license is designed for a one-to-one program. So it goes on all of the students' digital devices, and they keep it. Coaching is what we're doing today. The curriculum map comes up in a minute. I'll show that to you. You can get ongoing support if you're unpacking it and something you just don't get. You can email me at askatechteacher@gmail.com. You can go to the companion website at askatechteacher.com. More general topics there, but you can also leave a comment and someone will get back to you. The companion wiki is right here, and this is where you'll find the videos like this one. Probably this is where you found it. They'll always be right here. It's only K through 5. It's not the middle school grades, and they'll just be in one stream. So once you found that stream, you're gold. You'll also find lots of free resources, lesson plans, videos, posters, all sorts of stuff on that one. Okay, and oh, how funny. I clicked a link. I didn't mean to. Okay, let's do this. So the curriculum maps. This is for the year, and it shows how K through 8, how each of these skills carries through those 9 years. So you can see there are some that cover every single year. You deal with problem solving, you deal with vocabulary, you deal with keyboarding. Every year you deal with those. And Google Earth, which is not usually one, but it's just such a useful tool, you will find lesson plans for that every single year. Coding, there's an hour of code lesson in every grade level. And internet, digital citizenship, you have that every year. Now this second curriculum map is by the year, and it's only in K through 5. But you can see each week, you can see roughly what you're covering. So the first week, blogs you cover, you don't blog in, this probably is from kindergarten, so you don't blog in kindergarten. The older ones, you'd see it. Classroom management tools, coding and programming, you just see exactly when you focus on these particular topics. And here you get down to keyboarding or pre-keyboarding in the case of kindergarten, and you can see every single lesson. Talks about that problem solving every single lesson. Vocabulary every single lesson. So, all right, that's a really useful thing for you, the curriculum map, so you can track that, and it's a nice thing to put on the wall in your classroom, to share with parents, to share with administrators so they can see where you're going. It does work on all platforms. It's a PDF, so however you load a PDF on your Chromebooks or your iPads is how you do it, or your Macs and PCs, that's exactly how you do it. You can either teach this in the grade level class or the lab, or collaboratively. Really good technology requires all stakeholders be involved, which is the tech teacher if you have one, the grade level team, parents, and the students. It's not, parents don't get left out of this when you're talking about keyboarding, because you only spend 15 minutes a week on it in K through 5. The parents have to be involved, because when the kids are typing materials at home, the parents have to be able to say, okay, is that how you were supposed to type? Use all your fingers, keep your elbows at the side. You share with them those pertinent details, and then they're your partner to help accomplish this, just as they are with math and science. You might teach a skill or start a project in the lab and then carry it forward in the classroom or reinforce it in the classroom. If you teach problem solving, for example, in the tech lab, then in the classroom, the grade level teachers can expect students to know what to do if their headphones don't work or their monitor doesn't work, or if they can't get the internet to work. They can, because it's covered already in the tech lab, the grade level teachers can expect them to accomplish that. Now, you need to, that needs to be a conversation between all stakeholders so that they know this is what students know how to do. And, okay, we talked about that, so let's, lessons included. These 5 lessons are in each grade level curricula. Digital citizenship, keyboarding, problem solving, digital tools, vocabulary. Each one has these, and I'll throw an hour of code too if that's part of digital tools. But every lesson, anytime you go on the internet, you talk about digital citizenship. Anytime you are working on computers and there's a problem, you talk about problem solving. These are not standalone lessons, although you'll find a lesson in each grade level dealing with each of these, but it's intended to set you up for using it throughout the year. And key ideas for each lesson. It has vocabulary in each lesson. It's domain-specific vocabulary. Use those words. You want the students to get used to the idea that technology has its own vocabulary and be excited about that. So when you talk about network or HTTP or URLs, the students, oh yeah, I got that, I know that. So don't dumb it down for them. Use those words and expect them to use them. There's some fun projects, really fun projects that they can use to reinforce their technology vocabulary. Hopefully you have time to pursue those. Otherwise, come up with your own so that students know, and not a word list, not these are the 10 words we need to know, because you want it authentically as part of each lesson. Expect students to be risk takers. Don't worry if they struggle over something. Don't worry if they fail. That's part of learning, is write, edit, rewrite. That Common Core's advice for writing is you write, you edit, you revise, you rewrite. The same thing with everything in life. You try it out, it doesn't work, you revise it, you try again, you adapt, you tweak, and then you got it. That's the way it is. But that takes a risk taker. So students, you don't want students to ever feel like, I did it once and I failed, so I can't do this. No, that's so not true. So show them how you handle problems. You will definitely have times where you stand up in front of the class and just doesn't work. Show them how you are then a risk taker. Show them how you solve those problems. Welcome mistakes. Don't ever apologize for them, because that's learning. Support differentiated instruction. So in the lessons, there will be suggestions, usually lots of them, for tools that will accomplish the big idea or answer the essential question of the lesson. But if the student has another idea of something they would like to use that they can explain to you why it addresses that big idea or answers the essential question, let them sell you on it. I love that. It may be something that really works for their particular learning style better than what you've promoted. It's always a good idea to offer tools that address all the different learning styles: hearing, speaking, writing, talking, music, art, all of those, so that students can then pick, because they're drawing an art piece doesn't excuse them from the idea they have to satisfy the big idea. So that's always there. If they think their artwork can satisfy the big idea, or their music can take care of keyboarding, then let them. They can sell you on it, they can do it. Students are not passive consumers. They are involved. They're understanding why they're using pieces. They're making suggestions about what might work better for them. They're taking everything seriously. They're not passive. And so just to remind students that a technological world is pretty cool. Any chance you get, use technology to time something, to schedule class assignments, to take a poll, to Google Map a trip that you guys are taking as a class. And anything you can do that uses technology, do it. Circle back on earlier skills during current lesson. You always want students to do that, and you can do that. If you keep a gallery of student work, you're going to roughly show every project the students did all year. So when you're doing something later in the year, you can point back to an earlier one and say, this involves the type of skills you did here. So always a good idea. Here's how you reach me, askatechteacher.com. That's my website. You can reach me at askatechteacher@gmail.com. Visit this site. Also, here's our link for where you are right now. Okay, teacher manual. I want to go a little faster than this because I don't want to take too long. Most of these videos, I'm hoping I get done in 10 or 15 minutes a week, because that's a lot to watch, especially for those of you who teach multiple classes. So I hope I'm not talking too fast. I hope I'm not going into too much detail. If I don't go into enough, though, feel free to email me. So the table of contents will be slightly different for each grade level, but it will basically have an introduction, the curriculum maps, scope and sequence, really valuable piece where you show all the things you accomplish every year through K through 6 and then 6 through 8. And with boxes to check them off, so you can show students their progress. A table of images, so you'll see the 100 or 200 images included in the book. You can see what all of them are, and table of assessments. You'll see all the assessments that are included in the book. Usually, I don't know, 30 to 40, or I'm not even sure how many. Lots of them, though. You have lots of assessment options. You'll never have a time where your administrator wants you to assess technology and you don't know what to do about that, because we have so many in these books. Then you've got your 32 lessons over here. Some topics will take more than 1 week. And so know that it's 32 weeks, 32 lessons, but some not necessarily 32 topics. I'm trying to see if there's, like this virtual field trip takes 2 weeks. We've got field trip 1, field trip 2. Certificate of completion for each year. So at the end of the year, you can have a graduation ceremony and award these certificates to students. Bunch of posters. The younger the student, the more posters, but there's a whole lot of posters. So you can decorate your walls, you can enlarge them. You have permission to use them, not give them away, not post them on a server where everyone can access them, but you have permission to use them. And then there's a whole lot of pedagogic articles, so you can understand why you're doing things. When we talk about habits of mind, you want to, why is that so important? Why not just sit down and memorize? So it'll talk about habits of mind, or how to use a digital portfolio, topics that are really important for you when you're running a classroom. Scope and sequence, this is what you'll get. It's K through 6 or 6 through 8. It has a little checkbox here to mark off. It's organized by the ISTE standards, and you'll see here, introduced, working on, mastered, or completed, depending upon the year. 5 basic lessons. We kind of covered this. Keyboarding, digital citizenship, classroom digital tools. Really cool lesson. You will really enjoy it. It will tell you what digital tools to have for each grade level. Now, you won't have all of them, but it'll let you know what they are capable of handling, and that will be your goal. It doesn't mean they're expensive tools by any means. It just means this is what you're aiming for. And especially your kindergarten, it'll be pretty easy. When you at 3rd grade, if they haven't started with this curriculum, it'll be a little more challenging, because you build these tools up year to year. So by the time they're in 3rd grade or 4th grade, you're adding more tools, but they're really used to the new ones. Digital note-taking, no big deal. So then you can add the next layer. So a really good lesson on classroom digital tools. Problem-solving, hour of code, that can be moved around anywhere. In fact, the lessons, all of these can be moved anywhere you want, or broken up throughout the year. You don't necessarily have to take a whole class to teach these. You break them up throughout the year, move them around throughout the year. Hour of code, of course, you have to have that hour sometime during the year. Other than these, each lesson of the 32 scaffolds on prior lessons, only for K through 5. So you don't want to take lesson 18 and make it lesson 3, unless it's the keyboarding lesson. You always, because lesson 18 depends upon knowledge acquired in lesson 1 through 17. So you keep them in order and just keep building. So symbols. So throughout the book, you'll see these symbols like this over here, where you'll have, there's a video, there's a collaborative opportunity, there's a topical article at the end of the lesson in the teacher manual. There's posters to go with the topic, and then there's this, which is digital note taking in the student workbook. So it's noted here, and this is the teacher manual. So you'll see this, and you'll know at this point your students have an opportunity to write something, annotate in their student workbooks with whatever your class annotation tool is. Homework is grades 3 through 8 only. It's at the end of the book for grades up through grade 6. 7 and 8 are flipped classrooms, so those are included in each grade, in each lesson. And 30 to 60 minutes a week. This is how, and they are primarily homework, keyboarding until you get to 7 and 8, the flipped classroom. They're primarily keyboarding, so you want them to do that extra time at home because that is where they learn their keyboarding. Parts of the lesson. Okay, so this is your lesson. It looks messy, but it's really just a lot of information for you. The more you get used to using these lessons, the more you'll say, okay, I've got everything I need on one page right here. Very valuable. So the vocabulary, problem solving, skills, new and scaffolded. You have academic applications. So as you're going through that, you'll know hour of code. Where would you apply that? It'll give you ideas on how to apply any infographics. Where would I use an infographic? And it'll give you ideas right here where that would fit. Your materials required, standards met, essential question and big idea. Your teacher prep, so go through this prior to the lesson. This is a good thing to go through, and then come to our office hours on Sunday and discuss it if you need help preparing for the lesson. Something shows up here you don't have any idea how to prepare for. Bring it up in our Sunday 2 p.m. Pacific time office hours, and we'll go over those. Assessment strategies. And then you've got the warm-up and the exit ticket. You also roughly know how long it takes. They're basically geared for 45 minutes, but not always. So you want to know. Now the differentiation, if students finish early or need something different, here's opportunities for it down here. So look at those, and definitely be aware of them. So sometimes students will just be done early, and you can direct them to one of the opportunities under differentiation. Lessons are scalable, definitely. You can check them off here on these lines, and you know what you've finished, you know what you haven't gotten to. And you can add pieces from the differentiation tool that we looked at up here to make them more involved or less. You will not get through an entire lesson your first year on the curriculum. So don't make that an impossible task for yourself, because it rarely happens. Nothing you do wrong, you're just getting used to the curriculum, and your students aren't used to it. Kindergartners will. Okay, I'll say that because it's their first year. But the third graders haven't had the built up of K through 2 to be prepared for what they're doing in third grade. So you'll work a little slower. So you'll check them off. You'll know what you did this year. By next year, you'll see how you checked off more. So they're definitely scalable. Assessment. Okay, assessment isn't bad. I'll just leave. I won't go through all of these, but you'll see in the assessment tool, the idea is that it's not sitting down and memorizing and answering questions. It's a whole bunch of ways you assess them that isn't painful or bad. You observe them. You watch for improvement in their skills. You watch that they can carry knowledge from weeks ago to this particular lesson. You want to see that they can add it to a digital portfolio, that they can verbalize instructions, those types of things. And then there are more prickly ones like tests and quizzes and presentations. But there's a whole bunch of different types of assessments that you can look at. Save this spot in the video, so if you need a list, a general list, here it is for you. Student workbooks. Okay, pretty much like the teacher manual, but you want to allow students to proceed at their own pace. You'll go through, you'll introduce material and get them started, and then they'll go faster or slower depending upon them, what they have. The projects they get in their student workbook that's on their lab computer or digital device are in full color with working links. They can write on the rubrics and assessments, and then take a screenshot and share that with you, or print it and share it with you, whichever you do in your school. So students can, there we go. So we kind of covered that. May vary depending upon license. Okay, good. And we kind of went over this when we looked at the difference between the two. So you'll see the students skip just certain parts, but they have all the parts they need to succeed. They also see the step-by-step, which comes up somewhere underneath this. Oh, down here, there's the step-by-step. They know exactly what they're expected to do. So if they get through with the first 5 steps and the rest of the class is still working on those, they can go to step 6 through 10. And then they can see what you're going to assess them on right here. They can see what the essential question is. So if they come out of the lesson, they don't know I don't know how I use technology, or they come up with something to play games, they missed it. So then they go back and they rethink. They'll see these icons for videos, collaboration, annotation, much as you do, and pretty much in the same spots. Okay, homework, we talked about that. Common questions you might have. What if you don't have the mention tool? Well, that's okay. You may have another tool that you have used in the past that works for that. We might make suggestions, for example, for keyboarding. But any keyboarding tool you use, I might suggest Type to Learn, and you might prefer Typing Club. So that's fine, because as long as it meets the goals, which is to get them practicing whichever grade they're in, practicing learning where keys are, or using all fingers, or whatever it is, depending upon their grade level. So no worries. If you have a tool that accomplishes that, you're going to be fine. If you are really stuck on that, great time to email me or show up at the office hours at Sundays at 2 p.m. Pacific time and ask me. You mention this tool, but I don't have it, and I have no idea what to use instead, and I'll help you with that. Lessons focus on, because the lessons focus on skills, not teaching software. We're not teaching you to use Animoto or ThingLink. We're teaching you how to share information, and the tool, the vehicle, is ThingLink. Okay, can't get through all this material. We discussed that. You truly don't worry about that. You will, by the time you've been doing this, by the time students have used it every year that they're in school, you'll have no problem. By the time you've been using it for a couple of years, you're going to have no problem guiding students through efficiently. Don't know how to do the skills. Okay, so that happens. That we'll call out a skill because we don't go through exactly how to do each skill. That would be impossible. There's too many different platforms, Linux and Macs and PCs and iPads and Chromebooks and laptops. There's too many of them. So we don't call out how to do the skill. We call out which skill needs to be done. So if you need help doing one of those skills, email me at askatechteacher@gmail.com. You can go to askatechteacher.com and see if I have that on there somewhere. You can go to YouTube and search for a video on how to do it. You can also learn along with your students, depending upon what that skill is. It might be something that you all learn together. Okay, let's open this up, and it's a Voki, and the school has a license, and let's see how we do this. Let's figure this out together. And I think that's it. All right, guys. So let's go way back to the beginning. So we are good. There we go. That's it. That's our starting video. Let me know if you have any questions on this. You'll see this video stream populate a video every week, and it will start working into the book. As I've said, feel free to contact me with any questions. All right, guys. Look forward to working with you this year, and have a great year. Bye.